It is not 2009 anymore. It is not 2010, 11, 12, when things were easy and anybody who bought anything, like, put a blindfold on, throw a rock, hit a great deal. Does it work anymore? Big question.
It doesn't work the way it used to work, I'll say. Now, of course, there's always an exception. There will be somebody who raises their hand and says, I found a deal that works according to the 2012 rules. That always will be the case. But generally speaking, is anybody in here having a hard time finding properties that cash flow positively when you buy them? Oh, there's 4 of you. The rest of you are finding cash flow properties everywhere. This is so indicative of the fact that no one wants to admit how hard it is and how bad they feel because they can't get this done. And there's a lot of reasons why that may be, and we can talk about that. But I feel like one of the big problems is we set a standard and expectation of what was normal that started in 2010, which was probably the best time to buy real estate in my lifetime, or even before my lifetime that I'm aware of. And we thought that was normal. And then because we're human beings, we found negative things to look at. Oh, it's only a 25% cash on cash return, but there's no value add here. Like, real estate investing so hard, you have to deal with angry tenants. And we found the reasons to poo-poo it. And so much of the content was trying to get people to overcome their hesitancy to do a scary thing. And then real estate became expensive, at least in the markets where I was living, like the coastal markets. And then it was, how do we get you to overcome your fear of investing in another state? So that book was written. Then it became, how do we get you to overcome your fear of scaling? The BRRRR method was real. There was always an objection that we were trying to overcome with people. Yeah. And the irony is that now people would give anything to go back to 2013, right? Those problems don't seem that scary anymore. It doesn't seem that bad. Now we're in an era where owning real estate, period, is a win. It doesn't have to be a deal that cash flows right out the door. I think the solution is that we need to adjust our expectations, frankly, the same way that we needed to in 2014 if we wanted to move forward getting a deal. And there's a lot of resistance to that because the way that it's been presented the last 10 years was not, this is the best time ever, you're crazy if you don't do this. It was normal, just that's objections everyone had. But if you look at the rest of the world, they don't have cash flowing rental properties from the first year that you buy them.
Yeah. So do you think, and this is maybe something that we disagree on a little bit, and maybe not, should somebody buy a property that is negative cash flow? Should somebody buy a property that is break even? Should somebody only buy a property that cash flow? When we're talking rental properties, let's avoid flipping and wholesaling and all that right now.
Should you go out with the girl that says no the first time you ask her out?
Took me 4 tries.
Right? How long did it take Jacob in the Bible to get the wife that he wanted?
7 years, 14 years.
7 plus another 7, 14 years. Do you think he regretted it when he got her? This may not be the perfect analogy.
It's a pretty good one.
But the thought would be every woman in here is like, the answer is no, he did not regret that. Yes. You all need to do it. The right deal, yes, you can buy that doesn't cash flow. Also, the right circumstance in life. There may be someone who doesn't have 14 years to wait to be able to get married for someone. We've preached for so long, make sure that it cash flows, because the way that people lost properties to foreclosure before 2009 or 8 was because they did not look to see what cash flow was. They did not understand that concept. It was pure speculation. It was like a stock. You buy a brand new home, you sell it a year later and you make $100,000. Everyone's doing it. Then they lost their homes, and when we asked, like, well, how did you make sure you're going to pay the mortgage? That they looked at us like we had a hole in our head. Like, what does that mean? What is cash flow? What are you talking about? There are certain people that are in a situation in life that they cannot buy property that doesn't cash flow. If you are living paycheck to paycheck, if you don't have a lot of money set aside, if you're not doing well financially, you could invest in real estate a long time ago. It is, I don't want to say don't do it. It is much riskier. I'm advising more people to not buy real estate because of the situation that they're in life now than I ever did before. Then you have somebody else that maybe saves $20,000 a month. They have a great business that's going on. They live beneath their means. They have managed their money very well. They've earned the right to sort of delay gratification. I remember a conversation that you and I had specifically where we were first sort of toying with this idea of, is it heretical to not buy for cash flow? And we were looking at an example of like, okay, this property in Indiana cash flows $400 a month. It's worth $60,000. In 10 years, it's going to be worth $65,000. Mm-hmm. And then a property in Malibu that you could buy for $8 million on the beach, but you're going to lose $5,000 a month. You're going to lose $60,000 a year. If you go fast forward 5 years, that $8 million property is probably going to be like a $13 million property. You're talking about a $5 million gain to lose $300,000 over that same period of time. You can't lose with the Malibu property, but during that interim, you need to have a lot of capital to survive. And I sort of realize there is a pattern in general with real estate where the properties that are going to appreciate the most, that end up being the safer bet, will not have immediate gratification of cash flow that people want. And part of why that's such a hard concept for people to grab a hold of is they believe the purpose of real estate investing is to build cash flow to quit a job, to build cash flow to buy a car, to build cash flow to get a girlfriend. Cash flow becomes the magic pill for everyone that doesn't like their life. If you just had cash flow, you could change everything. And I think that has sort of been a cancerous ideology that isn't very healthy. And you notice, I'm sure, as we both are working with training and teaching a lot of investors, the ones that show up with the attitude of, yeah, I'm here because I don't like work, I don't like hard work, always struggle. The ones that succeeded at all the things they did before, and then they come into this, they end up figuring out how to do this too.
Yeah. Yeah, there's almost no successful real estate investor I know that grew a big business and then just went and retired on the beach. It's very, very rare, right? Like anybody who's able to attain financial freedom isn't actually able to take financial freedom. And so I see that all the time with this, the lazy kind of approach to real estate investing. So just having a good idea that like this is going to be hard, I'm going to be in this forever, is maybe a good approach. But so what about the person who can't afford to lose cash flow? They can't afford to lose that cash flow. Let's say they have the right mindset. Hey, I'm in this for a long time, but I only make 65 grand a year at my job. I'm a fireman. I'm a teacher. I'm a, whatever. Should they just not do real estate?
We all have something that we can give up of value. The obvious thing we look to is money, because money is the easiest valuable thing to shift from one person to another. This is another topic. That's my opinion why taxes are so popular, because it's very easy for me to take money from someone else and give it to these people, right? And if you could just convince yourself that it's not fair that they have it and these people should, you can do it. There's a lot of things in life that would follow the same logic, but we don't do it because it's hard to do. Like, for instance, is it fair that some people get to be skinny and other people are fat? Wouldn't it be fair that we have to take fat from fat people and liposuction it out and stick it on the skinny people to like create equality in this entire thing? Well, we don't do that because it's very difficult to do, but that logic works the same. When you're in a position that you don't have money and you can't give up money to get into real estate, you still have comfort. You can give up comfort. You still have time. You can give up time. You can give up immediate gratification. This comes up so much with someone who's bad with their money, and they don't have enough to buy real estate. I only have $4,000. What can I do with $4,000? Then I ask the question, well, why do you only have $4,000? And the conversation slowly dies, okay? They're working a job they're very comfortable working that does not require very much of them. They are not willing to give up the comfort zone of, well, I work at an Amazon warehouse and I make $15 an hour and my rent's $2,500 a month, so I can't really save money. And I'll say, well, have you thought about asking for a promotion? I hate that place. I don't want to be like my boss. Okay, have you thought about looking for another job? Well, I got this car payment. I have all this debt. I really can't. It turns into this, there's an excuse they can't leave, right? Well, have you thought about getting rid of your apartment and moving in with someone else and paying them to rent a room from them? I really like my space. I need peace. I'm a person who really is in tune with my environment, so I can't do that. Or, they want $1,000 for a room. Well, have you thought about offering to clean their house, do their laundry, cook their food, go shopping for them, and then you can live for free? Man, I really want to live life on my terms. I'm like, but you just told me you only have $4,000. You haven't earned the right to live life on your terms, right? You can always give up comfort, and I think comfort is incredibly expensive, and everyone just got uncomfortable when I said that because all these ideas popped in our head of things that we are doing that are costing us the future that we want to have, and then it reveals a condition of your heart. That the very first blog post I ever wrote for Bigger Pockets was about the difference between wanting something and liking something. If you ask everyone in this room, do you want $1 million? Who here would say, no, I don't want that, right? But then if you said, what are you doing to get $1 million? Very few of the people in here would be taking the steps that millionaires take. So the truth is they don't want $1 million. Do you want to look like The Rock?
Yes.
You do, right? Would you want to actually go do... Who here would actually want to go work out with The Rock and try to keep his pace and eat his diet?
A few of you.
Who's waking up at 4:30 and pushing themselves so they throw up in the weight room and then being told that you actually had more to give? That was kind of pathetic. We don't want to look like The Rock. If I want to look like The Rock, I promise you I'd be doing what The Rock is doing. It's a price I'm not willing to pay.
Yeah.
And I'm just honest with myself. What I would like to look like The Rock.
Yeah.
Okay? If the workout fairy came and touched me with the head, or the money fairy said, I bestow $1 million on you, I would take it. But if I wanted it, I would be I'd be doing things, right? So the truth is, when you get into this financial independence, financial freedom, wealth building journey, it reveals the condition that your heart's already in. And that is a very unpopular way of looking at this. What is more popular is for someone to tell you it's unfair, the chips are stacked against you, other people have wealth. If you had only been born into a different situation, you could do the same thing, which is hilarious because we live in a country where it is literally easier to make money than anywhere in the world at the easiest time. There's people making 6 figures on YouTube showing people how to put on makeup.
Yeah.
Like, put yourself in Argentina right now or Venezuela and tell me that's hard to become a millionaire, someone like that. We come up with reasons to justify not doing what it would take to be good. Not just like with working out, you can't deny it. With money, you can make excuses for why it doesn't happen. So I'll wrap that up by saying, if you are not giving up comfort and you're not financially successful, you don't want it. You would just like it.
Yeah, so it's a question of do your actions align with your vision, right? Like, you say you want this thing, if
Right.
you're not aligning there, you got a problem. It's one thing we do in the tribe. A lot of you have done it. Kind of the training we've done, which is this idea of, what's your identity for your life? Like, who do you want to be when you grow up, right? Like, this is my identity. I want to be a millionaire that's financially free. Great. Well, what does that person do? And then you define those actions, and then you track those actions, and then at the end of the week, you're like, well, I didn't do any of them. Like.
So you don't want it.
Yes, you don't want it. That's exactly it. Like, you're not going to get it. And it reveals a hard truth. And I would actually guess a lot of people will end up leaving the Better Life Tribe. They'll end up leaving the habit of tracking your habits. They'll end up leaving all that because it reveals the truth, and people don't like to see the truth. Right? Nobody, I say this, a wise man once said, no one wants to be a villain in their own story. And
profound.
But it's true, and the guy was really smart who said that. It's like have you ever seen that, right? Like, everybody always wants to find a way to make sure that they are the hero of their story and not the villain of their story. No matter what it is, right? A couple breaks up, it's always the other person's fault, right? You're overweight, it's always the other, not you, you look good. You're like, it's always the other person's fault, right? We don't like to take that accountability, which again is why having accountability and having the right kind of accountability is so important. Like, if you came to me and you're like, and you're saying, hey, oh man, I'm really struggling with this thing, I can't find this. I'm not going to be like, yeah, you're right, man, it's tough. I'm going to be like, well, why not? Like, what are you doing to do it? Like, I'm going to hold you to it just the same way that you're going to hold me. It's actually one reason that David and I become such good friends, is because we don't let our BS grow. Like, we call each other out on it. Like, I don't think that's really the case here. What's going on?
Yeah.
And if you don't have that in your life, get that in your life. It's
know
powerful.
what healthy accountability looks like. Okay, healthy accountability is not the person that walks around pointing the finger at everyone and saying, "You're making excuses. Suck it up, Buttercup." Right? No offense,
Stay
Alex
hard.
Felice. That's like, that's his favorite thing to say. There's an example in the Bible of Jesus criticizing the Pharisees, right? And he's saying, you're judging everybody else for not following all these rules. And he did not criticize them for the judgment. That's how everyone thinks, is like, if you tell someone that they're wrong, you're bad, judging is wrong. He said, you criticize them, but you don't lift even a finger to help them. The sin in that case was that you love pointing out that other people aren't doing something they should be, or they're doing things wrong, but your heart does not want to help them overcome that burden. You are not willing to take some of their struggle and put it on your shoulders and carry it with them. It makes you feel good to point out somebody else's flaws. Another element of, I think, why Brandon and I's relationship is so good is when you point out, hey, here's a problem that I see, the next thing is, what can I do to help you with that? Do you want to start joining me with this activity? Would it help if we were doing it together? Do you want me to check in on you? Hey, here's a person that I can help you connect with that will help with this thing. That's missing a lot of time from relationships, and that's love, right?
Yeah, I would love to see more of that within, like, the pods and the Better Life Tribe, which is where, I mean, imagine you're on a pod call with somebody, and you're in a small group, and somebody says, yeah, I'm really struggling with, keeping my phone off at night. I just end up scrolling TikTok really late until midnight so that I don't wake up early, and then I'm missing the gym and everything. I just want to shut my phone off at night. Great. If I hear one of my pod mates say that, what I want to say in return, and what all of you to say in return is, great. What time do you want your phone off tonight? And they'll say, I don't know, like 8 o'clock. Great. I'm going to call you at 7:59. And I'm going to make sure, and I'm going to ask you, are you ready to turn your phone off? And what does that require of me? I'm going to set an alarm real quick and then call someone or text someone real quick. It's so easy to help people get better without judging. Just, I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to help you with that. So I guess that's just encouragement for everybody. If you're in a pod, if you're not in a pod, I recommend it. Any accountability group is powerful. But then don't just be the guy who takes, give as well. Ask, how can you make sure everybody in that group is performing to the highest level that they've set for themselves, and then by doing so, they're going to help you with the same thing.
Yeah, that's what the definition of love is doing for someone else what you would want them to do for you.
Yeah.
And we were talking about you can give up comfort, you can also give up selfishness. Selfishness is expensive. I care about my goals, what I want, who can help me. Most people show up to events like this with I want to meet someone that's going to change my life. I need that key that's going to unlock the door to the next thing. They don't show up thinking I can be a key to somebody. I want to get to know everyone and figure out, do I have something that will help them